Hola, buenos días alumnos, ¿cómo están? Estamos aquí con el Maestro Minelli, learning Spanish with Maestro Minelli. We're going to have a great video today. Fantastic video. We're going to talk about interrogatives. Now, interrogatives, as you know, are question words, basically seeking information. It could be something as simple as where to have dinner for someone's birthday party, or where to buy, or when a fiesta is going to start for someone's cumpleaños, or where you're going to watch the Super Bowl, whether it's at home or at a friend's house, or it could be how much does a new suit of clothes cost, or it's how much do those new shoes or footwear items cost. It could be something like who's going to go on the school trip when they're planning to go on a cultural trip to Europe or something like that. So, interrogatives provide information in the sense that you're seeking information because you're asking good questions. I'm just going to have a fabulous sip of iced tea. I like the raspberry iced tea. Me gusta el té helado, especialmente en la mañana, porque para comenzar el día. Now, let's start with the interrogatives. So, first of all, as a base of operation, in Spanish, most of the interrogative words that we will see are also reflected as declarative words in declarative statements. Now, declarative sounds like a big word, but you think Declaration of Independence. We're declaring our independence, we're making a statement. A declarative is simply, in English, a sentence that ends with a period, a sentence that is punto al final. It communicates information. Like today happens to be Saturday. I am recording this video at a collaborative learning center where I've rented space since 2014. It's called Workstation in Cohasset, Massachusetts. We have access to a pizarra, which is a dry erase display board. Those are all statements of fact. But if I say, oh, ¿dónde están mis llaves? Where are my keys? ¿Dónde means I'm seeking information. Like, where did I put my keys? Oh, I put them in my mochila, in my backpack. Something like that. So, we're going to get started, and I'm going to angle the camera so that it's mostly displaying what's visual on the dry erase board. But then I will be giving commentary in Espanol. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. So I'm going to start off with a who or whom interrogative. And you notice in Spanish how we have the upside down question mark to start the question, and then the right side up question mark at the end. So if you say a question like quién, dot, 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 and then at the end there's a question, quién. Quién means who or whom. Who or whom. Quién. So, ¿quién va a ir a la película con nosotros? Who's going to come to the movie film with us if we're going out as a group? Now, that's for the singular. If you wanted to say plural, you'd say something like quiénes, and most likely it would be like quiénes son. Quiénes son, like if you're a fan of the World Cup, you might say for whatever country you're rooting for, quiénes son los jugadores del equipo de, los Estados Unidos, Argentina, Mexico, whichever country you're rooting for, you could say quiénes son los jugadores de fútbol para la Copa Mundial, for the World Cup. So who are the players for the World Cup soccer team that you are rooting for? So quiénes son. So that would be the plural over here. Quiénes son. I didn't write the son, but quiénes son. Whereas if it's singular, it's quién. Okay? Now, these are interrogatives. You can also have the same word in a declarative that just wouldn't have the accent and wouldn't have the question mark. So if you say, oh, yo sé quién es el capitán del equipo de Argentina en la Copa Mundial, like, oh, I know who is the captain. Like, I know that information. Yo sé quién es el capitán del equipo de fútbol de Argentina en la Copa Mundial. Now, if you're saying, I know him personally, like I'm friends with Lionel Messi, something like that, you would use conocer, like yo conozco. But in this case, we're asking for information, so it's more trending toward, oh, yo sé, like I know. Yo sé quién es. And not quién es, singular word, but quién es, dos palabras. Yo sé, I know, quién es, who is, el capitán del equipo. So I know who is captain of the team. So again, quién or quién es has that wonderful accent. And I usually tell my students to make a math connection that the accent over the vocales, el acento sobre vocales, es como en matemáticas. So in math, you know how you have a slope that is like 1-to-1, and it goes up one value of y and it goes over one value of x, and it's proportional. So I joke with my students that I say, oh, it's like a 1-to-1 slope. You know, it's going up at a diagonal angle. It's like trending up. It's the way that I want my stock portfolio to go, or my, 403b or my 401k to go. So that is quien and that is quienes. Now we are going to move to the fabulous world of what? What? We're going to go into the world of qué. 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 Now, again, as an English speaker, growing up, the QU would automatically be associated with something like quick, quiet, queen, things like that. In my mind, it would make a KW blending sound, like qua. But in Spanish, it's more of like a hard K sound with a long A. So I used to think of this as like Kay Adams, like the late great Diane Keaton, who played that fabulous role of Kay Adams and later Kay Corleone in the Godfather series of films. So whenever I'd see the QUE, I would think of, oh, Kay, like Kay Adams, like Kay and Michael talking at Connie's wedding, something like that. One of the first scenes of The Godfather. So all kidding aside, Kay would be what? And that's an interrogative. Now, again, as we talked about this being a pattern, when you go into a declarative statement, instead of que meaning what, it would be que meaning that. Okay? Yo sé que 2 más 2 son 4. Like, I know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. And again, I didn't ask Winston from 1984 because they were trying to bug him about saying 2 plus 2 equals 5 in George Orwell's novel. But I digress. We're just doing 2 plus 2 is 4 for our purposes. So Winston, you're off the hook. No math today. Declarative. So that. So what? ¿Qué? What? ¿Qué pasó? What happened? And then that. Like, it's more of a connecting word in the declarative. Like, I know that today is going to snow a couple of inches. I know that this iced tea is delicious. So that's que. Now we're going to go into a little bit of a higher order thinking question. Because again, if you're a newspaper reporter, you might say who, what, when, where, why, and how. And the why and how would be questions that are more higher order thinking, because you're not just saying like what the standard information is. You're inviting some degree of subjectivity and or opinion and or analysis and or interpretation. Okay? So, why and how, I'll do why first, because why has a wrinkle to it in Spanish. The phrase for why is a two-word phrase. Por qué. But when you say it, it kind of sounds like it could be one word. And here's where I'll make a connection between interrogative and declarative. So if we say por qué, por qué, so again, two words, there's that accent of the slope of one over the E in the second word. Por qué, dot, 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 question mark. Por qué means why. And again, that's interrogative. Now, here's the thing. When you convert it to a declarative, usually it converts to the word because. And it goes from two words as a phrase with an accent to one combined word with no accent. So watch this. ¿Por qué? Dot, dot, dot. Like let's say you had dot, 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 ¿por qué? And then dot, 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 toward the end of the sentence. So this is declarative. ¿Por qué means because. Like, yo fui a la tienda porque necesité jugo de naranja. So I went to the store or the market because I needed orange juice. Something like that. So again, interrogativa, dos palabras con acento. Declarativa, una palabra sin acento. ¿Por qué? In the question form, and then por qué, as in because, in the declarative form. Doing excellent. Now let's go to another higher order thinking question. And this is the fabulous, amazing Como. So not like Lake Como in Italy, although Lake Como I've heard is delightful. And not like Perry Como, famous musician. He's also fabulous. But this is the interrogative como. Interrogative como, again, accent over the first O, como. So you kind of give that emphasis. So that means when we are asking, we're asking how. Like, how did the magician escape from that locked container? How did you do that? Like the phrase, how did you do that, is very common in Spanish. Like one friend asked another, oh, how'd you do that? Can you give me some advice? ¿Cómo hiciste? How did you do that? ¿Cómo hiciste? Like, how did you do that? Now, in the declarative, the word como would not have an accent, and it would most likely, in many cases, be translated as like. So, for example, in English, we have similes where we use like or as. So we could say, Drake May is a successful quarterback, much like the early stages of Tom Brady's career. Tom Brady has a great career, and Drake May, has an early career much like that of Tom Brady because they're both showing signs of progress and success early in their career. Same with Dan Marino, same with John Elway. Several, young quarterbacks have been very successful. Patrick Mahomes. So you could say, like, so like a simile. I, if you're using like or as, and again, it's not an interrogative, it's the declarative, como. You could also use como in the phrase como más infinitivo. So como plus an infinitive. So if you wanted to say, I know how to drive, you could say, yo sé cómo manejar. I know how to drive. My daughters know how to cook. Mis hijas saben cómo cocinar. And don't worry, I know how to cook too. It's just that I think they're more talented than me because I've taught them everything I know and they've learned stuff from other resources. And I just think this generation coming up is smarter because they have so much access to technology and information right at their fingertips. And if they're willing to apply it, like you are dedicating the time to apply your knowledge to Spanish, you're going to be able to use it. It's going to be helpful. As we'd say in Spanish, útil, like useful, like wonderful adjective, útil. We'll get into adjectives in a future video. Interrogative, ¿cómo? How? And then como, the declarative, is just you're communicating information. Could be like or as, could be part of a como más infinitivo phrase like yo sé cómo patinar en el hielo. I know how to skate on the ice. So como has different functions, whether it's interrogative or declarative. Okay? Now, a couple more that we're going to do today would be the location question, which would be donde. So I wanted to tell an interesting story. We went as a family to San Antonio, Texas. We went to San Antonio, Texas a few years ago on a vacation in 2022. And I'm telling you, San Antonio, I am not being paid by the San Antonio Visitors Bureau. I'm just a very satisfied tourist. We went there, and as a family, like taking a family on a vacation, it was wonderful. We didn't even rent a car. We just strategically called taxi cabs. I'm old fashioned that way. I don't use Lyft or Uber. I just, use taxi cabs. And we would ask the taxi cab driver when we would get in, ¿Dónde está un buen restaurante para comer la comida mexicana auténtica? Like, where's a good local restaurant to have authentic Mexican food? Like, real, como la comida mexicana, como la salsa y todo esto. So, we would ask the taxi cab driver, as a professional who knows the area, ¿Dónde está? And there was this great place called The Pearl. And The Pearl is not one restaurant, but the Pearl is an area of San Antonio where they have the farmers market every week. And there's also the Culinary Institute of America is located there. It's not too far away from UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. Go Roadrunners. So it's kind of a nice location where there are restaurants, artisan shops. There's a culinary college. There's a really nice hotel. I forget what the name of the hotel is, but we had lunch there. Really nice hotel. Again, top notch to visit San Antonio. It's like a dream. We want to go back so much. So donde would be like you're saying where. So the interrogative would be where. And the joke we had is we went into an artisan's place, an art shop run by local artists who were volunteering their time. And it was an art gallery. It was something like Riverwalk Art Gallery or something like that. I'll have to get the name. And we bought this ceramic key bowl. Now, it wasn't sold as a key bowl, but we as a family would always joke with each other that we were losing our keys and like, are they in my coat pocket? Are they in my pants pocket? Did I accidentally leave them in my pants pocket and they're now in the washing machine? Those are clean keys. Or did I leave them on the kitchen counter? So we were always like, where are my keys? ¿Dónde están mis llaves? So we bought this ceramic bowl at this wonderful artisan shop in San Antonio. It was so lovely. We still have it. It's right by our front door now. And that's the key bowl. So people come over to hang out, have dinner, visit us. They put the keys in the key bowl. And when they ask, ¿Dónde están mis llaves? We say, oh, they're in the key bowl, my friend. So if you say where, ¿Dónde? You have the accent over the O, and you emphasize that early part of the word, ¿Dónde? You kind of like use your voice like, ¿Dónde? Where? You make it exciting and enchanting. Now, you could also, like the other question words, they have the non-accent variety. that could be a declarative statement. Like you could say, oh, I remember where I put my keys. Yo recuerdo donde, declarative donde, no accent. I remember where I put my keys. Yo recuerdo donde dejé mis llaves, where I left my keys. Okay? So that's a location word. And again, location words are also helpful because they often are affiliated with some form of estar. Not always, but in the ser estar dynamic, if you're using location, that's one of the key factors that might trend you over to the usage of estar. You know, location, emotion, things that have a temporal nature, like they have a certain time sensitive pattern to them. Now, the final interrogative for today that we're going to do is cuando, which is similar to donde, like donde is location. And this often goes hand in hand with location. Cuando means when, so it's timing. And even though I don't have my watch on today, you know, as Fletch would say, Fletch would point to his non existent watch and say, oh, it's time. So, cuando, oh, this marker does not have any ink left. I'll have to go back to this one. So if we say cuando, and the accents over the a, cuando dot dot dot, and that's the interrogative, that would be when. So that would be a time word. Cuando. Cuando va a comenzar el programa? Like when is the program going to start? Cuando vamos a tener desayuno mañana? What time are we going to have breakfast tomorrow? Maybe because it's a weekend, like on Sundays, we have breakfast slightly later. We still wake up early as a family, but we have breakfast slightly later on Sunday just to, you know, chill and take it easy a little bit. So, ¿cuándo vamos a comer? ¿Cuándo vamos a preparar? ¿Cuándo vamos a visitar a los abuelitos? When are we going to visit our grandparents? Stuff like that. Now, if you have declarative statement, just stating information, that's when you know the answer. Like, oh, yo recuerdo cuando vamos a visitar los abuelos. Vamos a visitar los abuelos, a nuestros abuelos, el próximo sábado. Like, oh, I remember when we're going to visit our grandparents. We're going to visit them next Saturday, el próximo sábado. So again, if you have an interrogative, it's cuando with the accent mark, cuando. And if you have a declarative, it's just cuando, like when, like you're just communicating information. So to review, and I know this is tiny print, but we have the person-based interrogatives like quién for the singular and quién es with the plural. And that's like who or whom. We have qué, which is what. Por qué, which is why. Cómo, which is how. Donde, which is where. Cuando, which is when. Now, there are two other declaratives and interrogatives, you know, combos that we want to do, but we're actually going to cover them over the course of a few different videos, okay? And that would be cuál and cuáles. So we're going to cover those in a separate video. And then we're also going to cover cuánto and cuántos in a separate video. In fact, those cuál and cuáles and correspondingly cuánto and cuántos, those interrogatives and also associated declarative statements, those are going to be part of a few different videos where we take all of these interrogatives and give you sample sentences that you can practice through what I would call call and response. Like I would say the phrase or the sentence, and then I would pause and give you some time so when you're watching the video, you would have the appropriate amount of time to replicate the spoken pattern. And then I would repeat the sentence, and then you would repeat the sentence. And that would be like a 4 it's really a two-sentence cycle repeating itself twice. So statement of sentence, replication of sentence, and then statement of sentence two, replication of sentence two. So I'm glad we had the pizarra. Gonna say gracias a la pizarra. Thank you to the dry erase display board. Wonderful. Now, thank you once again for taking the time to watch this video. If you have suggestions about topics that you would like to see, please either email me at maestrominelli@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment in the comment feed. Because I record videos just a couple times a week, and I'll record them and like load them up into the system so they display every weekday and sometimes on the weekends, but mostly every weekday. But I might only record the videos like twice a week. So I might only look at the comment section about twice a week. So if you write a comment and it takes 3 or 4 days for me to respond, or if you write an email to the maestrominelli@gmail.com, takes me a few days to respond, that's okay. It should be within a 2, 3, or 4 day realm, depending on when I'm doing my next recording. In any case, I'm passionate about learning languages. I hope this video has been helpful. Please subscribe and join our growing YouTube channel. Tell a friend, be a friend, subscribe, and hit that like button with the thumb up if you like the video. Only hit the like button if you actually like the video. And as we might say in Spanish, si te gusta el video, nos da aprobación. So if you like the video, please give us the approbation and the approval of that wonderful thumb up, because it really helps with the algorithm and the metrics here on Second Person Singular Tube, also known as YouTube. So, gracias otra vez por escuchar y ver este video. Vamos a tener otros videos excelentes también. Y si tiene una sugerencia para nosotros, para tópicos que podremos grabar y discutir y enseñar, nos vamos a recibir estas sugerencias con mucho gusto. So we're happy to take suggestions. Anyway, have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And if you're in New England like I am, enjoy the wonderful winter wonderland, because right now, just as Olaf said in Frozen, it's snowing. So have a wonderful weekend.